ahead. Let's go ahead and get started.
All right, so my name's Dr. Jonathan Hart. I've been working with Northland CAPS for the last 5 years as a digital media and design instructor. Over the last 3 years, I have been, my study over the last year has been on specifically authentic learning strategies. What it was bridging the gap between what strategies were being used at the collegiate or adult learning level, and seeing which ones were applicable at the high school level. And so now I have some new and different techniques that other authentic learning programs outside of the CAPS network have been utilizing to obtain their organizational goals.
That's awesome, Jonathan. Well, congratulations. I know when we visited a few years ago and you were in the midst of all of that hard work. So congrats. That's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah. Drop the mic.
Yeah, it was complete. What was fun was trying to do all this research through through COVID. So all the focus groups and all the interviews and everything transferred to a Zoom platform, which was kind of a double-edged sword. It was great because I think more people were able to attend and be a part of it to get more perceptions on things. But it definitely created a lag in the I wanted to get it a month ago, and trying to wrap everything up for deadlines was a little more intense than I wanted.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Not like research is ever a smooth ride anyway, but throw in a pandemic and you've got a good story for the rest of your life.
Yeah, it definitely, like, this is obviously my first study that I've ever done. I don't even know what it'll be like to not be part of a pandemic. So next one should be pretty easy, right?
That's right. That's right.
Absolutely.
Well, Lydia, you want to, most people have probably heard your intro and mine too, but you want to introduce yourself and maybe we can sweep around the Northeastern folks that are on the call.
Yeah, sure. So Lydia Young, I have been at Northeastern since 2008. It's crazy to think that I've spent this much time at Northeastern. When I stepped in as director of field placement and a faculty member, and made the transition from being middle school and high school English teacher to higher education. So my heart and my love has always been in public school and, making learning meaningful, and served for a while as the associate dean. And then I get to return back to my space of joy, which is serving as the director of Next and seeing where we can go with this.
Yeah, totally.
Jen, how about I pass off to you?
Hi, everybody. My name is Jennifer Love. I am a teaching professor in the College of Engineering at Northeastern. I've been at Northeastern teaching since 2006. So like Lydia, I know, and I've been in many different roles. First with engineering technology school, did some teaching for CPS actually for the night classes, hybrid teaching, and then transitioned to the College of Engineering, so first year engineering. So I live in Marshfield, Massachusetts, so I'm here on the call from sunny Marshfield. And I'm also an EDD student. So I've been working on my doctorate. Thank you, Jonathan. Yep, the pandemic has disrupted a little bit, but I'm working on, my dissertation project is on the new Massachusetts science standards, next generation science standards, maker spaces. And as an engineer, I used to work in the industry. So bringing that perspective of industry, experiential learning, that's why I'm involved with Next. So thank you for having me today.
Thank you for joining us. Dr. Nolan.
Good
Kim.
afternoon, everybody. My name is Kim Nolan. I'm one of the full-time faculty. I, like Lydia, have been at Northeastern for at least 10 years, maybe a little bit more. So I teach in the EDD program, and I am also one of the faculty who is a part of Next.
And you've been organizing a series of webinars. I don't know if this, I think this would be a good opportunity to talk about that work, Kim.
I'm the regional lead for the Southeast. So I have been doing a series of webinars about rebooting schools after COVID through the Charlotte campus. So we've done two, one on experiential learning, internships and externships, and one on just general, how are we going to go about the fall? And we have one more in August with industry partners and school leaders.
Awesome.
Really fun conversations.
Yeah, I see we've got another person that's joined our design studio time here. I think is it Iris Sanders? If you're available to unmute and just introduce yourself, we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, sure. Hi, my name is Eris Sanders.
Iris.
I'm the principal of Building 21 High School in Philadelphia. I'm not sure if you guys have ever heard of it.
Yeah.
We do a lot of the same, just instructional model, really pushing students through problem-based and project-based learning. We have an advisory model, and we focus on equity. My student population is about 100% free reduced lunch as well, and so it's been really refreshing just to be on the line, hearing from others who are doing the work on the ground every day. And I'm just here to learn and listen, and it's a pleasure meeting you guys.
So you pronounce your first name again, Iris?
Eris.
Eris, I'm sorry. Eris, like you're the heir to the throne of experiential
A
learning.
little bit like that, yeah.
Yeah. So Eris, I actually heard you on one of Dr. Unger's podcasts, I believe.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we did that recently. It was a good
Yes.
time.
Yeah, he speaks very highly of your work, and I enjoyed hearing from you on that podcast as well.
Awesome. Thank you.
That's wonderful. Thanks for joining in. So, and then we have Nate in here. He's kind of our technical support, but he's done a lot of great work for Cedar Falls CAPS up in Iowa. And this Preparing for Purpose brand is something that he and another gentleman named Ethan Weekman have provided as a support mechanism for us and for some others. So he's kind of behind.
Did you want me to chime in, Corey?
If you want, I know you're busy. I don't want to take your time away, but
I could take a couple minutes.
okay, yeah, please do.
What do you want me to talk about?
Hey, whatever you want, buddy.
I think it's great to have this type of thing, and things are going really well with all the sessions we've had and the people coming all across the country. We've got people into Canada too that have joined us. I know, my background is economic development. And when you get into this aspect of working with education, I'm not an educator, but I would always hear companies say that, they are in dire need of workers, not necessarily people, but workers. It's harder to find those. The pandemic has changed us a little bit from unemployment being like 3%. Now we're at to 10 or 11%. And that's going to really set the stage for what education can do to prepare tomorrow's workers, because there are going to be some, lack of a better term, bullshit jobs that will disappear, that are out there, that have sustained in a good economy. You'll see those with a decline in commercial real estate and storefronts and things like that. Stores and businesses that maybe aren't needed. It's more entertainment focused or discretionary dollars. So I think as we get into conversations with futures of, I hate saying careers, but the kind of work that our students and associates want to get into, and even their parents for that matter, and friends, you start looking at, is that going to be, let's say a pandemic hits again in 2040. Is that job going to sustain? What kind of skill sets do we need in that? That's what I'd be interested to see how the impact of programs that we're all involved in or looking to get involved in can really show light on not just schooling, but learning or educating. And that's what I think Antonio Boyd said it today. I'd never heard that before. There's a difference between schooling and educating. And that made a lot of sense. It was kind of a light bulb moment from this morning.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Nate. Thanks for all you're doing to support the event as well. This has gone.
I'll give you behind the scenes look.
There it is.
Of everything.
The masterminds.
So.
Yes. Well, we appreciate it.
Herding cats, and by cats I mean me.
Oh, just you and Unger. That's it.
Lydia's developing a complex.
I'm like, oh, my transitions.
She hasn't done her wardrobe change yet. I thought she was going to wardrobe change.
I know, but I changed my background, so no wardrobe change. I'll change my background.
I thought you were just going to do the peel off, and there'll be another layer.
Be like Scooby-Doo, the guys at the
Oh.
end, the
Better
mask.
than removing my face. There.
Right. So I also see Angela Cooper, who has joined us. I don't know, Angela, we're just introducing ourselves. Would you like to chime in?
Sure. Hi, I'm Angela. I'm here in the suburbs of Milwaukee area at Catholic Memorial High School. I started with them in the fall and doing their internship program. So
Great.
we kicked it off with our Project Lead the Way, our engineering students, our seniors. Like everything else, it came to a halt. Some of our students were able to continue their internship virtually.
Mm.
So that was nice. We ended it with a class project where they did a presentation with the student and their employers. We had such great success that we are tripling our program for the fall.
Wow.
We're introducing business and engineering. But what is happening is all the businesses we had lined up, one after the other, they're starting to fall off because their employees are not back to work, or they started that tradition or transition and it turned out to be a little slower process, or now they're pulling some of their employees back, and we're getting, at first programs were on hold. Now again, I got 2 just today that said they're not going to do anything with the high schools until 2020, till the next school year, or 2021.
Wow.
So it's like ours is a class that students sign up for.
Mhm.
So we're scrambling and saying, can we bring projects like we had just talked about? And I'm excited for the afternoon session of externships. Can we bring projects to the students in the classroom, or even virtually if we are, at this point, our school is planning to do 5 days in school. But what can we do to provide that hands-on learning and that experimental learning? And 2, like we heard from the students earlier today, just the life lessons they've learned, the confidence they build from the internships. It's so rewarding to hear their presentations and that, the impact programs like these are making on the students and their future.
That's the stuff we live for, right? Like those stories where it's like, we helped make an impact as
Mhm.
part of someone's life, right? And
Mhm.
hearing those stories always, it's like, it just brings tears to my eyes, quite
Oh, it
honestly.
gave me goosebumps hearing these students.
Mm.
One of the students said, this was the best thing about high school for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes hearing those comments, it's a little bit of, it's like your heart is full, but it's also wrecked at the same time, because you just want them to have that kind of experience more often. You're excited that you gave them or were part of giving them that experience, but it's kind of this yin yang feeling, because we're not in competition. I know when CAP started, for example, just thinking of our program, there was kind of this natural feeling of competition that, okay, why is this different? And when you start talking about differentiation, then it starts feeling like it's one or the other. And we had to work really hard to kind of bridge that gap and say, we can talk about how it's different, but we also talk about how it complements. But at the same time, then we go and we talk with our students and we ask them questions like Dr. Unger asked today. And you get these amazing answers, but in there, sometimes it's very blunt, sometimes it's more subtle. You hear this kind of, gosh, I wish I could do this all day, or it's kind of almost these backhanded slaps at the high school experience, which we totally get it. It's just, that's the real prize, right? Can we flip the whole system upside down
And how fast, the
how fast?
Titanic expression was spot on from
Yeah.
that standpoint. So I'm just anxious to hear what some of, like the CAPS program, how are you pivoting, I guess is the word, right? Shifting the plan to adjust to the virtual experiences.
Yeah. Well, I may chime in just briefly, but Jonathan, I'm sure, has some insights. The model at Northland CAPS is similar to yours, very heavy on the internship side, and spring semester, their model has been to get every student out. That's been disrupted a bit with this pandemic, but I'm sure he has some insights. I'll just tell you what we're doing right now. What we're doing today is an example of what we're going to need to figure out doing in smaller chunks and more frequently going forward. We've been working very hard connecting with our business and industry partners to, one, just make sure they know that we're still in business. We're still working this model. We want kids to have this experience. We're very intentional about making those touch points right now. We're also meeting them where they are and making sure they know that we know they're in kind of a tough spot as well. And we don't want to overly burden them.
Yeah.
So we are willing to work with them to make adjustments to how this work can be done. One of the things that has become a bit of a hallmark of a number of our CAPS programs has been really kind of going deep into this client project work, which lends itself in most disciplines to a virtual environment as well, which is thinking of the students as consultants, soliciting projects where a business partner could chime in through Zoom or another virtual way, or maybe socially distanced, come to a building and just say, here's what we're looking for, but then be able to go back to their place of business and handle all the challenges they're facing while the students and the teacher work together to kind of formulate the plan of how the work gets done with some check-ins, but taking some of the pressure off of being on site, I think is going to be helpful. And then, we're looking beyond that. We're looking at the ability to create experiences where we might have guest instruction, guest speaking, maybe some kind of activity led by a professional, but make that more transparent where as we have our network members, participating, they have the opportunity to see transparently what activities are out there. So let's say, for example, let's say Jonathan here in a few months has a great activity and an industry partner in Kansas City that's willing to do something. We're working to actually create a calendar and a space where he could actually put the information in to say, hey, I'm doing this. Our kids are involved. We're open to you all, wherever you are, if you have kids that are interested in this, participating, and allowing for that kind of crowdsourcing to allow more of these experiences for kids. So it's rocky, it's messy, but luckily we all kind of thrive in being agile, and we kind of like it being a little messy. So it's not that we would have chosen to be in a global pandemic, but I think we're probably better positioned. I say we, everyone who's a part of this event, I think is better positioned just because of the mindset that we're all bringing to this work to try and make it work. So that's what I would say. Jonathan, you may have more to share.
Heading in, we're all aware that everything could change like that. And so what I am personally doing is I'm reaching out to those business partners, and we're discussing plans on how we're going to work together, kind of what you were saying, through like Zoom. I look at this as this is actually a good thing, this pandemic, and hear me out here. It's forcing me as an instructor to push forward again. And not that I wasn't, but it adds that fuel to the fire. For instance, you talked about professionals coming in and talking to the students. I really concentrated on that face-to-face. That was something that I wanted the people in my classroom so we could have conversations, so they could engage in the students. And I didn't utilize a digital platform as much as I could have. And now I think it's going to allow me to not be as intrusive on those professionals, where I can get more into my classroom and they can even be more accessible to my students, where they can reach out to them and they can ask questions and they can build a deeper relationship with these professionals where they're not relying on a face-to-face. For instance, we have students go to their businesses if they're working on projects for them. Well, now instead of a 15-20 minute drive to a facility and carpooling and getting that and going through traffic and whatever, they can set up that meeting and really hammer home, time management using that calculator, where they can establish a lot of meetings with a lot of different people and even reach out to these professionals that aren't on the project to pick their brains on different things. As far as the project piece, kind of what you were saying, Angela, yeah, we've got people dropping left and right. And so the challenge that I'm looking at is, how can I produce authentic professional projects for my students? And so what I'm planning on doing is reaching out to these professionals and saying, hey, in the past, we may have done a promotion. I do digital media design. So we did a video for you 3 years ago. Maybe you're very happy with that, but let's go ahead and redo it and recycle that idea, for lack of better terms, the same premises, the same expectations, and kind of revisit those business partners that we've done work before. That way we can tap into those projects. I know that when I look for projects, I tap into charities and nonprofits a lot, because especially now they're hurting from the ones that I've spoken with. So those are the areas that I'm going to do, or those are the areas I'm going to look at to try to facilitate the project, so to make them as authentic as possible. I hope that answers your question.
Do you mind if I jump in? Jonathan, that piece that you just said about the community partners and the nonprofits and the charities. So this afternoon, when we're talking about teacher externships, one of the panelists that we have joining us is Laura Engel, and she's one of the leads on Northeastern's XN. It's our experiential network where we partner with industry individuals or industry sites and create projects for our grad students as well as our undergrad students. And we've always been virtual, but the piece about moving to virtual and trying to work with individuals, that charities and nonprofit work, I think, is something that I want to make sure she's thinking in those spaces as well. And just for those of you who are joining us right now, I will say that XN is open for schools to avail themselves of. It is free to the employers. They get to work with grad students doing projects, everything from digital media, communications, biotech, and they work on projects similar to a lot of the ways that your high school students are. But I know a lot of times there are schools that need, more resources and people to do things. And we have thousands of grad students waiting to do that work with you. So I'll just make a plug there that we have a version of that, which when we talked about CAPS and Northeastern being such a good mix, that's a nice example of it.
Yeah, Lydia, if you've got any kind of linked information or contact email or something to throw in the chat so everyone could grab it, that would be cool. I want to make sure that those that have just joined, I've got a sneaking suspicion that the design studio session went to breakouts, because that's when we get a flood of people who are like, I'm not sure I'm that invested in this. I'm going to try something else, which is, I'm saying that because I'm the kind of person that does that. So I'm indicting myself. But I see, I actually recognize a number of these names as other CAPS affiliate folks, Kelly Lay from Neosho, Missouri, and Daniel, who's out in St. Charles County CAPS, and we've got some others here as well. So yeah, basically we're having a conversation just about kind of the disruption of COVID and how do we jump into this fall with internships or projects. And so any of you that have just joined, we'd love for you to just introduce yourself real quick, and then anything you want to share about what you're thinking about for the fall related to that would be awesome. Kelly, you want to start?
Sure, I'm Kelly. I'm the director of the new CAPS program here in Neosho, Missouri, and we're getting ready to launch this fall. Our challenges really are just trying to engage businesses and get students engaged, because we decided to build our program about a week before we went on spring break and then didn't get back together. But we are getting students enrolled and we are getting businesses engaged. I think we just have to pivot a little bit and decide how to make it interesting in this new environment. But we're gonna get it figured out. We're gonna offer something better than what they have today, and then we'll build from there and have a great program many years to come. So very excited. Learning a lot today, by the way. This has been amazing.
That's awesome. I have no doubt you guys are going to rock it. Kelly's been working hard to prep most of the year, and he's done a great job. I saw Daniel's face for about a blink. Daniel, are you in a place where you can say hi?
Around here. Yeah, hi everyone. Thanks for having us. This has been awesome. I got little kids running around here, so I've been
That's all right.
out throughout the morning, but fantastic stuff. I got a whole page of notes here that I'm got 1,200 tabs open already, trying to search every time someone says something. So it'll be a fun few weeks after this to try and get ready for the year.
Awesome. And Daniel is a medicine instructor in the St. Louis
Yes,
area,
with St. Charles
County. Yes. Great program, consistently high marks for student experience, and doing some really good stuff. I think you guys finished 3 years as a collective group. Is that right?
This will be 3.
This will be number 3.
This will be 3.
There's a year or two before where there were some smaller programs in the county, and they ended up unifying to create synergy. So terrific. Anyone else who's joined us? Brenda or Karen or Lavana or Mary or Colleen, any of you want to just introduce yourself real quick and let us know where you are?
Hello, everyone. I'm Lavana Palmer. I'm with Northland Caps here in Kansas City. I teach the engineering and advanced manufacturing strands, and I just came today to collaborate and get some ideas, of course, because of the virtual instruction that we're all facing. I know that it's going to look quite a bit different than how it did in March. And so, just here to collaborate, and it's good to see everyone.
Awesome, Lavana. So Northland Caps representing here. Jonathan, Lavana with us. Excellent. Karen, you want to say hi?
Hi, sorry, I joined the party late. I had
You're
another
good.
staff meeting to go to.
You're good. You're good.
I am from Go Caps Springfield, and I'm with the Chamber of Commerce, and I serve as a program coordinator. And so my job is to connect these students and our instructors to our businesses in our community. I'm not sure exactly what the topic is, but that's kind of where I'm coming from. I'm assuming you all are facing the same challenges that we are. We are being kind of shut out, especially within our medicine and healthcare strands of our classroom sites, and in addition to those incredibly valuable experiences, which quite frankly sell the program to our students. So we are scrambling to do a pivot to try to find some alternative classroom spaces for those medicine kids specifically, and also trying to make it to where it's not just an anatomy or physiology class, to really get those students connected to business partners in a different way. And to maybe tie those aspects into it in a lot more creative, hands-on situation that we're going to have to create in that classroom as opposed to sending them out. So those are just some of the challenges that I think everybody and their brother at this point is facing in life. So thank you.
That's right. Yeah. Well, basically you jumped right in at the right time, because the topic is exactly that. Kind of how do we manage internships, projects. We talked a little bit about strategies of, accessing professionals virtually, but also looking for other like programs and figuring out ways to access each other's events to make it a little easier for each program. Jonathan shared some insights in terms of kind of seeing it as an opportunity to reboot and kind of push the envelope around teaching practices and using those online tools a little bit more. So sharpening the saw would be one way to put it. But yeah, we're wide open to other thoughts and ideas around that. Like I said, we see some other folks that have joined us. So anyone who wants to share an idea or maybe another element of that challenge in a question, just unmute yourself and throw it out there.
Feel free to jump into the dialogue.
Yeah.
This is definitely more informal space for exactly these kinds of conversations.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Jonathan. Go ahead.
Well, one question, and I don't know how other programs do it. We are sending schools, we're not one district, we're multiple districts. And because of that, we have 9 different school districts that send their students to us, which I think equates to 15 high schools. What we are going to have to do is be very flexible if one school shuts down or another one doesn't, or what happens. And I was just curious if there were other programs that were similar to ours. How are you preparing to deal with multiple expectations or policies that get put into play by multiple districts? As of right now, we're going to go to an A-B, where half are their A, half are their B. And if you know, because like I said previously, everything could change at the drop of a hat, but how are you, if you're in our situation, how are you planning on adjusting to multiple stakeholders' opinions on what should be done?
Great question.
Yeah, a lot of balancing in that question.
So I know Karen and Go Caps is a multi-district program. Daniel represents a multi-district program with St. Charles. And it looks like Brenda Schaefer is on here, who's also in that kind of situation. And well, and Nate and Ethan, of course, they're out. Nate's trying to help run the show here, but he represents a multi-district collaborative up in Cedar Valley. Nate, you want to chime in at all?
Yeah. So I'm on a delay. Hold on.
You got a few things going on. For those that just joined us, Nate's like helping on the back, like actually running this event. So
we're with Cedar Falls Caps, which started back in 2017 in the spring. We had 13 students or associates involved at that point. Viking Pump, which is an IDEX Fortune 500 company, said we could be there for our classes. And as we got in there and started connecting our students with businesses, and it really just started to roll. Last year we added, I think we had 130 involved in our school or in the CAPS program last year. On the regional model, we started exploring how to scale. We had some smaller districts and some smaller towns in rural Iowa and the Cedar Valley, Northeast Iowa. Interested in what was happening in Cedar Falls with CAPS. How could they do it? Jessup Community School, which is maybe 900 total, pre-K through 12, reached out, but they've got some business partners that are very supportive of it, a local financial advisor, Zach Knutson, and then a gentleman that very innovative when it comes to entrepreneurial thinking and technology, Tony Lang with Heartland Technology. And we're actually in a co-working space in a town of 2,800. And we've got 1 gig of broadband fed into here. The whole town is wired with fiber. And I think our superintendent at Jessup had no choice of saying, okay, the businesses want this and we got students that want it. So they jumped on board. Waterloo has a parochial school, Columbus, that had a business person push it as well. And again, you're telling educators, you got to think a little bit differently. And sometimes it takes those business or the outsiders to show them the way of what else is out there. So Columbus and Jessup came on as our affiliates. We do not trade students. We train their instructors for what this profession-based learning is. Last year, we were lucky before everything went crazy to get our students all together, our associates all together from the 3 school districts to do some trainings and some other events. And that was one of the most impactful things we heard from all the associates was, we had Cedar Falls, which has an average class size of 400, and Jessup has an average class size of 60, 70. Columbus is about in there too. And they were getting to interact with each other, and they realized they're not much different. They just live in different communities. So that started really permeating through other schools in the conferences of those schools. So Wapsie Valley to Fairbank, Gilbert Bell Don Bosco, another parochial school, and then Denver, Iowa Community School They will come on here this fall, and we will have 6 school affiliates in our Cedar Valley CAPS model. So a lot of them are trying to see how this goes and see where it can go. But I can tell you right now, with all of this stuff, I know we've been leaned on a little bit to how do we do virtual learning? How do we integrate some of these different styles of thinking into learning? For those of you that joined the Career Week we had back in May to support the CAPS network, I think we had 1,600 people. We had 25 different speakers over 4 days. If you go to preparingforpurpose.org, there is a link to the 2020 Career Week. We had astronauts, and we had somebody from Disney. We had nurses. We had surgeons. We had a zookeeper. We had a veterinarian giving surgery to a rat snake, a black rat snake, or something like that. All happening on the air.
It was interesting.
It was. And some pictures that the nurse from Barnes Jewish Hospital in St. Louis. Kids were like, I want to see more broken femurs. And we're like, maybe not. But, it's those types of things that we started working through that. And we had all this engagement, not just from our CAPS associates in this area, but from across the country and around the world, really, Canada. And I think we had some from the UK and Asia. But this is real. And that's what people want now, is that real experience. And we're already hearing today in the Jessup district there, how do we do 2 sections of CAPS in a semester? I don't know.
Yeah. So
But,
Nate, related to that, real quick, with all these districts coming on, how is all the backs and forths with what school's going to look like impact dealing with multiple districts? And I say that with the context that you shared a few hours ago, that the governor of Iowa just basically said everyone's going in person, and that's that. So how do you manage that when you've got different districts with different plans and spins? And I think that's part of the challenge for folks like Jonathan and Karen and others. Any insights there?
Well, I think there's some comfortability we can give to our instructors, especially for Columbus and Jessup, that had to do some more of this than the regular classroom teachers had to do in the spring. I think we can give some comfort to the new ones coming in, but you're dealing with 6 different school districts. Some are going to change their schedules around. How's that going to work? One of the biggest things we don't know yet is where they're going to go to work and what the limitations will be on the associates going into their host locations, especially when we have one that's hosted at a hospital. We have a couple on a university campus. We've got one in a corporate environment. So we're looking at some other opportunities, some private businesses that may let them in. We've got an office building that now has open space. So that's a 5-minute warning for you.
Okay. That's good.
So we're exploring that more. We're gonna take whatever comes our way and adapt. And I guess I'll say that's the biggest thing. I heard this from a friend of mine in healthcare. They've all had to adapt in healthcare, or in mass, or however they're doing things. And I feel like teachers don't necessarily want to change. They want the change made for them instead of how can they do it? How can they think amongst themselves of how they can change things? And I think that's part of what came from our governor, not just because it's from the Republican Party, but it was funny. She was giving all these local districts, you decide what you're going to do. And then you still had districts going, we don't know what to do. Tell us what you want us to do, because we don't want to get in trouble. I think there's a little bit of that has come through.
Sure.
Because they're looking for the guidance. Because the biggest thing I hate hearing is when someone says, well, the state won't let us do that. Okay, well, let's do what's best for the students. And if we're going to educate them where they need to be, let's follow that pathway.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a long answer to your question, Corey. The biggest answer is I don't know, but we're going to adapt as we need to and pivot.
I wonder if there isn't an opportunity, given, so many of your programs are facing similar challenges, if there's a way to pool projects, pool employers, especially when you think about what does it look like to work on a project, across the nation. Because, in our world, the Grad School of Ed has been online since, well, I joined in 2008 and I started teaching from a hybrid model in 2008. And so I have colleagues who live in Texas and North and South Carolina. What might it look like? And we have students across the world too. So what does it look like if students are able to come together across programs, work on projects, you know, across shared industries, if you will? It's a lot of coordinating, but it might help to answer the questions and the challenges that each of you is holding. Like, do we have the answers for one another in some regards?
Yeah, that's a great question, and a key question is, it's back to that idea of relationship building. You know, something that we found, I'll just speak briefly here, I want others to chime in, but we found that there are a lot of technical solutions floating around in the ether about how to connect to others, to grab projects, to meet business partners. And the technical part is important, but everything kind of falls apart if the relationship isn't there to back it up. So this idea of building your own network, or utilizing a network that you can become kind of a co-owner of, is really important. And we're starting to see some of that. I'll just speak for CAPS. We're starting to see some cross CAPS projects. We've done a few. I think we're going to do more because of the virtual environment. I think that's actually going to help us, much like Jonathan said. I think there's actually a lot of silver lining in this for us moving things forward. But it's a key question. Like, we have got to figure out how to partner across our borders. If everyone tries to lift up their own version of a program and create their own projects and have to do everything separately, it's going to take a long, long time before every student gets this.
It's a lot of heavy lifting.
It is. And I don't know, Karen, I don't know if you want to talk about what the Chamber's been able to do down in Springfield. That might be a good example of bringing different districts and parties together to make some things happen regionally.
You know, we are drawn as a region. We all have in common the same businesses, hospital systems, what have you. They've all been very supportive. Right now, we're in the process of surveying all of them to say, how can you participate, whether they're still in person, whether it's virtual tours, speakers, projects, mentoring, what have you. We face the same challenge in terms of we have several districts that are participating with us right now. In the state of Missouri, we can't start prior to August 24th for school. Every district in our region is planning that August 24th start date. No district we're participating with right now is talking about the AB day to start with. That could very well evolve over time. So just like Nate said, you know, we don't have answers for all of that at this point in time. But really, you know, our business partners, we're taking it to, you know, you all are having to adjust to COVID. This is a huge learning curve for you as well. How can we incorporate that into the experiences these students are having and just the reality that business partners are facing every day? So that's, you know, kind of our focus on how we had to pivot not only these students in their educational setting, but our business partners and what adjustments they're having to make. That's just kind of that unique connection that they're going to have this year.